Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Chris with InsideTheU, back again, day 2, Miami fall practices. First off, a huge shout out to everybody that dropped in the comments from the first practice, showing your support. It was great that there's so much excitement for the team and also for doing these videos, and everybody that's poured in their support. I definitely appreciate it. But let's get right into some things that I saw today, some observations. I paid a lot of attention to the running backs today in practice, and I have some videos of those guys. But first, I want to talk about maybe some plays that I saw. You know, some things that I saw on some 2-on-2 type action stuff, where basically they split half the field. They go with a couple receivers, you know, and a couple defensive backs, and the quarterback goes to that side of the field, and sometimes actually went with 3 defenders as well. But a few key plays that stood out to me, and it starts with Daryl Porter. You know, having a nice interception, jumped a route, looked like an out route or some sort of a comeback. Just jumped the route on a throw by Reese Poffenbarger. Just a really good interception by Daryl Porter, who's not had a pick in his 2 years at Miami, so maybe this will be a season as he kind of looks to take the next step. A huge jumping off point last season for him. The year he had the Pro Football Focus grades turned out to be really well for him, and it certainly provided some really strong, steady play at the cornerback position. And going into last season, there were question marks about the cornerback spot, so good to see Daryl make a play like that. Don't get to see all of the plays made by everybody, same way with Reese, but just in general, it was just good. I thought it was a good interception for him to come down with that one. You know, sticking with the defense, another play, not an interception, but a nice pass breakup downfield. Xavier Restrepo, it was just so tough in spring ball on these one-on-one situations during this drill, and he got downfield on this one with Damari Brown guarding him, and it, you know, in the spring, it just felt like every single time Xavier made these plays, and this one, Damari actually came up with a nice pass breakup. And, you know, there was some contact, but there are officials at practice, and they didn't give him a flag on the play, but so they let the play stand, and it was a pass breakup. A really nice play by Damari there, and I'm right there on the sideline of the defensive backs, the corners there, and they were all excited for Damari making the play. So that was good to see him make a play on Restrepo there downfield, which, you know, he'd certainly been so good in the spring, and just to see, you know, a play go the defensive back's way certainly was a positive sign. So 2 good plays that stood out to me watching that drill in particular. You know, then there was another play that Restrepo was involved in, and I thought this was interesting. Again, at this time it was the 2 receivers and there was 3 defenders, and basically Xavier, you know, commanded the attention of 2 defensive guys, and it basically just allowed Robbie Washington to get outside, get downfield, and make a deep touchdown catch. And I thought that was great. And again, Xavier, the attention that he had with the 2 guys on him, it freed up Robbie to get downfield and make that long touchdown catch. That stood out to me because I think that's going to be something worth watching this season with X. Is, you know, with the big season he had a year ago, and I know they got plenty of weapons this year at wide receiver, but I do wonder how teams are going to kind of guard Miami, how they're going to kind of deal with 7 there, and, you know, if they're going to put extra attention on him and try to take some things away from him. And I think that's going to be 2 things. It's going to be a challenging thing for Xavier, you know, in terms of if he does have an extra defender, how do you still get open, still make plays with all the attention, you know, him being a key part of the scouting report, but also, too, that he can take an extra defender or take attention away and allow his teammates to make plays. I think that'll be something to watch for, and I think it'll happen early on in the non-conference schedule, obviously starting with the game of Florida. And then another really nice play by a wide receiver was, you know, JoJo Trader got downfield a little bit of a back shoulder catch right there on the sideline, came down with it, pretty good coverage, and then Judd, you know, Anderson made that nice throw, and you know, JoJo just made a nice catch, and so that was good to see. Again, heard he had a positive day in day 1, and see if he can kind of just really elevate himself in fall camp. You know, I always think with JoJo, not just his skills, you know, with his speed, his pass catching ability, his agility, things he can do from a physical standpoint. I've always liked his mentality, his kind of approach to the game, and talking to him at media day, I felt like going into fall camp, really positive mindset. Felt like he had a good off season, understood what it takes at this level from going through spring ball, and just, again, has a good mindset, a good approach to it. And I think that's only going to help him, you know, however many opportunities he gets during his freshman season. So let's go to the running backs. And one of the things I really liked watching and really was able to zero in, and I got some footage of it that I'll post later on, like I did with the other drills that I've shown in fall camp, was the players, the running backs, using the chute. It's during drills, and basically it's a thing that stands there. They run underneath it. It teaches the running backs to get low. That's certainly good because they have to run underneath it, and they used the chute in different drills. It wasn't just get low and run straight. It was get low, read a hole, and they put a couple guys in there to kind of token the defense. So you've got to make the right holes, the right cuts while staying low, and I thought that was just kind of fun to watch, and I was able to get kind of good footage of it and just kind of get at their level in terms of what they're seeing and able to watch their cuts. And certainly watching the running backs, I want to watch Damian Martinez, all eyes on him in fall camp. Is he going to have one of these other, another big year like he's had at Oregon State, coming off the 1185 there and the 9 touchdowns? But just, I'm watching him go through the drills, and whether it's cuts or handoffs and the one cut moves that he's making, it looks good in it. But the thing with Damian, because they're not in full pads, again today, helmets and spiders once again, they'll get into full pads soon. But you're not able to see him at his best, I don't think, because I think he's a physical back, certainly with his size at 228 pounds. You're not able to see him take on that contact the way you would like to, going in full pads, even though running backs aren't taken to the ground in practices. It'll be nice to see him in full pads and going that way. But again, just watching his one cut movements, the handoffs from Cam look great, and just kind of as those two kind of continue to work together. And going into fall camp, Mark Fletcher was expected to be limited, so I'm not able to see as much as I would like out of him, but it's good that he is out there. But it just really gives an opportunity to the 4 other running backs on the roster. And to me, they're very similar. They're similar in size and skill and with their attributes. A.J. Allen does have the experience of a couple years. And then they've got these younger guys, not as much experience, with Chris Johnson, Chris Wheatley-Humphrey, and then Jordan Lyle. And I think it's going to be interesting because I think it's going to be important for somebody to kind of emerge from that back group. You do have Martinez and Fletcher, those guys, and AJ, again, with his experience, but, who's going to kind of emerge as a back that might need to be needed, especially if Fletcher's not game ready when the season starts or whenever you need a running back, but also just the development of these running backs. And again, seeing the cuts, certainly Chris Johnson with his straightaway speed is always fun to watch, and you can see it. It doesn't take long to kind of watch him on a football field and see that burst and those cuts. Again, just watching these guys go through these drills that are so important to running backs. I had a chance to talk to Jordan Lyle about how things were going, and there's so much more, and you can learn so much more at the running back's position once you get to college, because at the high school level, you're able to kind of run off natural ability quite a bit. And Jordan says he's already been learning from Damian some different things, and maybe how to hit holes and maybe his approach as well. But Jordan's, he said it, welcoming the competition. So that's good to see and good to hear from a young guy, because it is a competitive battle at the running back spot. Once again, even if they're not going to appear in games, I think just kind of how things are going to go in terms of the development of these young running backs. And once again, I'll have video of those guys so you can see them for yourself. Their third practice will be on Friday. It's going to be a light one, so we're not going to be out here, no interviews, no access. It's just going to be a little light walkthrough is what we're being told, but they will practice on Saturday. And then obviously on Sunday with Canes Fest, at Hard Rock Stadium, which will be open to the public to watch the entire practice. From what I'm being told, it's not expected to be a scrimmage. I would expect some team-on-team stuff that you'll get a chance to see. But even if it's on drills, you will see the offense go against the defense. Just definitely keep your eyes on the different position groups, like we see at practice. I touched on the receivers, kind of working with the quarterbacks, going against defensive backs, but also, on the other end, watching the offensive line kind of go to work against the defensive line on some inside run drills. And I think a guy to watch for in fall camp, I touched on Matt McCoy, but I don't want to leave out Samson Okunlola. And I think he's a guy that I think today, you saw a little bit of an elevated role from the first day. I think he's going to be a guy, whether it's at guard or tackle, to kind of moving him around, like they did in the spring. But I think he's a guy to definitely watch for in year 2. Dealt with the injury last year. Will he get that opportunity, whether it's on that top group or just certainly a guy to count on? So I definitely think you got to keep your eye on Samson, and I'm very curious to see how he does, because in my mind, when you think of a guy that talented, the way the first year went, and he definitely, this is a pivotal year, because you don't want to, as a player, you don't want to have 2 years of not playing much. And I know those guys, especially those higher ranked guys, those highly regarded guys, they're eager to get on the field as soon as possible. And we've seen, guys. And we saw it on the offensive line last year with a true freshman and Francis Mauigoa there, and had started the games at right tackle. So that'll be something to watch for, I think, throughout fall camp, is how Samson kind of doing, and his sense of urgency, so to speak. Again, only a sophomore, but it's such a pivotal year for players in that second season. And I remember for years hearing guys and hearing players talk about, they felt like the biggest jumps they made as players, whether they played or not, was year 1 to year 2. So maybe Samson's going to have one of those kind of really big jumps into his second season, and not just because the injury limited in terms of games and practice ability, but just really understanding kind of what it takes at this level, and again, that sense of urgency heading into year 2. So that is going to wrap everything up. Again, thanks to everybody for their support, and really utilizing that buy a coffee feature. I was actually able to, I bought an extra coffee today because I just felt like I needed it, and definitely going to need it throughout fall camp. But again, plenty of coverage still to come, more videos. I'm going to get some, not just the interviews, which I have a lot of interviews still from Media Day to post, but the practice drills. I know you guys really like those, so I'm going to get as much up as I can. Again, off on Friday, won't be out here, but then back out on Saturday, hopefully, and then we'll see you at Canes Fest. So thanks again. Have a good rest of the day. Drop in the comments below. I'm not getting to everything. There's a lot to talk about with this team, especially early on. There's so many players, so many position groups I haven't talked about yet, but drop in the comments below some things that I haven't addressed yet, and I'll definitely do my best to get to it. So thanks again. Have a good rest of the day, and take care.